Hey, hey, welcome everyone to the PlayStation Collectors Podcast, episode 19. And today we've got guest host Joe Rad. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, I'm not well. Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Yeah, really good. Thanks for joining us back, Joe. I think this is your third show. Will had a family emergency, guys, so he couldn't be here. But Joe came on at late notice. We appreciate that.
Happy to be here. I'll try to do what I can. It's big shoes to
How's your
fill.
week been, Joe?
My week's been pretty good, actually. Yeah, been doing a lot of getting a lot of pickups. Spent a lot of money on a lot of useless stuff. So it's been a good week. Yeah, I've been enjoying myself.
Nice.
Yeah,
Can't wait to hear all about it. But on today's show, we've got special guest. So this guy goes by the name of D Street over on YouTube. I watch his stuff. He does awesome pickup videos similar to mine, PlayStation and Nintendo content. So please welcome D Street to the channel, guys. Hey D Street, how you going?
What's up, guys? Good to see you all tonight.
hey, welcome.
Yeah,
What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad someone else here has some Nintendo love. Finally, I'm not the only one. All right.
Well, mostly their older stuff, which can be a nightmare to buy these days, obviously, because I am just done with their current stuff right now because I just can't support their current business model. But hey, they're still like every once in a while, if I find stuff used on the Switch that doesn't go to Nintendo, then hey, that's fine with me.
I like that. I must admit, after the podcast, I'm running out to pick up my pre-orders of Pokemon.
Oh, nice.
I am done with Pokemon. Like anything after Generation 5, I just stopped bothering because they are just making it way too mainstream for my taste, at least. But hey, I'm not the majority of the masses that makes that franchise successful.
Oh, I actually agree with you to that point. I didn't really like the last few Pokemon releases. I really enjoyed Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but they're just remakes of older games, so you can't really say I'm liking the new stuff. However, with Pokemon stuff, like you buy it day one, it's worth that in the future. So, I'm more or less buying it to keep my Pokemon collection complete. I'll give them a go, but I'm not expecting to put 100 hours into these games like I have on previous titles.
No, and another problem I have is unless you are really going for like putting intended difficulty on yourselves, you're gonna play these games like the same exact way of like what's just the most logical thing to do to get you through the gym fights and all that. And it was, well, you could kind of do it with that though, from what I've seen with the newer releases. But like back then, like if you didn't have like the Pokemon that was mostly effective against the gym leaders, then you would be grinding out your current team if you actually wanted to stick with your team and didn't care for going for the best method to beat those gym leaders.
You're right, but at the end of the day, it's a kid's game, so
I guess, yeah.
I gotta make it easy.
Is it a kid's game though? Is that the market really?
Yeah, because the internet tells me otherwise.
I was really tempted by the actual OLED Switch they released. That was pretty beautiful. Pretty tempted to grab one of those, but I didn't. So now it's expensive. So now I'm not worried about it anymore. So.
No, because I invested into a Steam Deck personally.
Oh, I was thinking about picking one of those up too.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get the big bad boy?
No, well, I actually did for my first one that I got, which came in it was this year in March. So I got it in like its launch period. I was really lucky to get that. And I have a review of it on my channel. But unfortunately, a little bit after I posted that review, my cell phone permanently died on me. And that's a big problem, of course. And I sadly had to drop like a serious amount of money to get a replacement of a sudden expense like that. And it's like, oh my God, I'm not feeling comfortable with where I'm at with how much I dropped there. So I sold the deck, but I did place another order for it. And since I was now more familiar with it, I actually ordered the 64 gig model. And I had a spare 512 gigabyte NVMe drive that I put it in, the one that I have now, and now I've made it into like the more expensive model, minus the screen, which is not a big deal for me at all.
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's just like a tempered glass screen. It's not like a higher resolution or anything, right? So
They for like the highest end model you get, the only difference with the screen, it's you can see it better when you're outside, so it doesn't have like many glaring issues, but it's not going to be mind blowing though, because when I used it, it wasn't that drastic of a measure. And plus, I'm not going to use the deck outside personally. Like I'm going to take that thing outside in the sun, you know. I'd rather just stay inside and not let this thing that is a very delicate system today that yeah, I don't want anything to happen with it.
That's half the reason why I wouldn't get one, because I'm not going to take it outside, and I may as well just play games on my computer. It's like when I'm watching a video, sitting in front of my computer on my phone, I'm like, why am I watching this on my phone? I just switch it straight to the computer.
Exactly, yeah, and you probably avoid ads as well if certain subscription models or some underlying methods on your cell phone is not working anymore, unfortunately. But well, it is what it is with Google, though.
So, Distro, you mentioned your YouTube channel. Tell us about your YouTube channel. Where can people find you, man?
Yeah, so you can find me at youtube.com at dstreet. I mostly do pickups of videos for now, but I am trying to get down like a schedule of trying to do say like game reviews or discussion topics, or take like one game, and if it did something that still like no other game has done before, like a great example is my video that I have up that was based on Metal Gear Solid 2, of like its underlying themes, because I think it's a really interesting topic to discuss for what that game depicted. But I want to get into content like that, but just like I'm just busy with work and other projects I'm doing with that's like gaming related that is just hogging up time right now. But pretty soon I will be on like have like an idea for how a schedule will be for content creation though. So yeah, you can still guarantee like a monthly pickups video every now and then, but I already have some ideas of videos that I'll be uploading soon, which will be based on a Barbie video game that I have the video footage of. And if you and Figsy,
I've actually written that down. I did want to talk about that today.
Because I'm sure you saw my one video where I showed that game off. I'm like, yeah, I still can't believe I came across that thing.
So let us know what the game is.
So if you're in the 3DS collecting market, and if you are serious about going for a full North American set, there's one game of the entire North American library that is ungodly rare to find. It's pretty much the stadium events of the system. It's a game, believe it or not, it's Barbie Groom and Glam Pups. It's really sad to think, but yeah, it's true. That game is the most valuable on the system. Supposedly, the story goes with this game, it was, and none of this is confirmed, keep in mind, but this is what most people say, is supposedly it only came out at a few select stores up in Canada, and the publisher, they noticed like the game was selling horribly, because what kid is going to go into a store and they are looking at like the display case, getting a new 3DS game and be all like, hey mom, that one. I don't think anyone's going to choose that game. So of course it's going to sell terribly. So when the publisher caught note of that, they recalled all unsold copies, destroyed them. Kind of sounds familiar to some other thing that I have here. But, and yeah, whatever copies are out there that sold is what's out there. And it is so freaking rare. And the way I came across this game 2 months ago, I was going to Chaotic Games here in Michigan, which is like a childhood game store that I've went to like for as long as I've been alive. And I was only going there to get rid of like games that I just didn't need anymore. But when I walked in, there was one customer that was in front of me. He was getting rid of a bunch of like, it was a bunch of garbage DS games, like all that shovelware, find the object type stuff from what I noticed. But he had one 3DS game, and it was that Barbie game. I was standing from, say, like a distance. I say I was probably like 30 feet from the counter, but I can see in the distance, I'm like, that's a white case, and like, that's a pink thing there. And I walked up close, and I'm like, oh my God, it's that game. So I walked up and it's like, yeah, it's definitely that game. And the people at the counter, the employees of the store, they were like looking at their computer constantly with like the game, and they were on pricecharting.com. They were trying to figure out what the game was, because if you go to the page for that game, of course, the price that it had at the time, a complete copy was selling for $998. But if you check it right now, it's like 2,000, because you can see the one entry that I put up there last time. But then they asked me of like what the story of it was, because since I'm a regular customer there, they asked me what it is. I just gave them like the story that I told you guys, like roughly of why it's rare and expensive. And then they called the guy who brought the game in, and they only well, no, they didn't offer him. Well, they explained to him, is like, so you have a really, 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 really rare game, apparently. And they had no idea what it was. It was like some guy in his late 30s with his girlfriend, it seemed, and like they would like clearly had like this stuff just piling up in like a closet or something type thing, that they looked like those type of people. And of course they were shocked to hear that, and they wanted to sell it. The customer, the original owner, he asked if he could get 200 for it, and the
Sure.
store, yeah, the store accepted it, of course. But at first the store was hesitant for it, because even for like serious game collectors that come into that store, like, is anybody going to come in there and see like in the display case and like this Barbie game on the 3DS for like $400 or $500 that they would have sold it for? Like, is someone really going to come in and get that? And they were hesitant to bring it in.
I
but
mean, I'm sure they
because-
could see one excited customer.
Yeah, except for one in particular, of course. But yeah, they gave him $200 cash for it. And then when I was next in line, I gave all of my games there for like store credit plus coupons I had with the store and the store memberships. I ended up paying $108 for the game, and keep in mind it's a complete copy as well too. And then I'd never intended to go in to pick up that game. In fact, I think I was originally going there to get rid of that stuff and pick up some GameCube games, but I just walked out with just that Barbie game that day, went straight home, started getting footage of it for a future video that I'll have up on my channel. And then that same night, I think it was at like 9 o'clock at night, I then listed the game on eBay for $3,000. And then I woke up at like 4 in the morning that day. I got an offer from a guy of $2,500. I accepted it. And
Nice.
I still can't believe that.
That's awesome.
I just woke up to this loud noise on my phone, and just this, like, yeah, he'll gladly pay that money. And I did message him. I'm like, hey, this isn't the most perfect copy, because on like the cartridge, the lower right corner of the label, it had like a crease in there. And I even said in my listing, I'm like, hey, look at the pictures and read my description, because I'm going to message you after you either send me the offer or pay for it, to confirm with you if you are good with the condition of this thing, because there's a lot of money to drop on something this stupid. And yeah, he confirmed like he was totally good with it, and we did the deal right there. Because I'm sure like
you made content first, I would have done the same thing.
But thankfully I have all the footage I need of it to make my video of me like with the game and playing it. And I picture like from his perspective, because if you try to find this game online, like looking it up, you will almost never ever find it. And for those collectors for the 3DS, this is essentially the very last game they need to complete their full sets. So and they never ever see it pop up at all, because it's that rare. So for those people where it's the last game, pretty much money is like no object to them. So he was able to just drop it, and he didn't care if it was like a not perfect condition, but it still had everything and it still looked good overall. So it didn't matter to him at all. So yeah, that's that. So if you're ever out hunting, if you see a Barbie game with puppies, with the 3DS logo on the side of the case,
oh god,
and if it's selling, and if whoever's selling it for even less, for $100, pick that up, because
I can see
sitting on a
everybody,
unicorn.
Everybody not freaking out every time they see a Barbie game. Just like,
I even had a friend that asked me. He even sent me like a picture when he was in a store with like a Barbie 3DS. Wait, no, it was a DS game. I think it was. I'm like, no, that's not the same thing, dude. But yeah, that's that. And it's thanks to that game I now was able to pick up this right here.
Oh, nice, man.
And it's not
It's clean,
just
too.
a complete, very good condition copy of Rule of Rose. 'Cause let me take it out here because I also got something else with it too.
Yeah, the thing looks really clean.
Yeah, but you got that for free, basically.
Yeah, I pretty much got it for free. But yeah, clean copy.
Oh,
Like
man.
even on like the top, there's like no dust marks or anything on there. Like you see a lot of PS2 games if they've been sitting in a store for so long. But open
That's
this up. I
beautiful.
also got the so we'll start with the contents. So it's like game disc and manual with the registration card as well. But I also got the pre-order bonus
Nice.
promo CD that you would have got if, like I said, if you pre-ordered the game back then. So that way I have like the most complete type of copy for this game that clearly is highly sought after.
How much is the that promo disc worth? I bet that's
Um,
probably worth hundreds just for the.
A couple hundred. You could
Yeah.
probably talk to the seller to maybe sell it to you for maybe like between 100 to 150 roundabout. But then again, this promo CD, it is way more rare than the game
Yeah,
itself,
that's-
though.
I've never.
But it's
seen
nowhere
it.
near as expensive, thankfully, though.
That's cool though.
Is there
Yeah.
anything to distinguish that the copy has the promo CD or anything?
No, it's the promo CD. It was just a separate thing that they. I'm pretty sure for if you pre-ordered the game, you went to pick it up in the store, you would like they would hand you the game itself, and like off on the side, they would just hand you that promo CD.
Makes sense.
Kind of like what they did with the Ocarina of Time GameCube disc, where if you pre-ordered Wind Waker back then, the people at the register would then just hand you the OOT GameCube game, where it had both the original game and the Master Quest. I'm sure that's how it was for them back then.
Funny you say that, the PAL version's actually got a sticker on the front, and it has a second slot in the GameCube case for it.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, speaking of that, I know the Japanese version of it for like the Zelda Collector's Edition, where it had like the first 4 Zelda games, aside from the Game Boy ones, but they also included the OOT Master Quest disc in the Zelda collection, which I actually have that. So they got like 2 different copies of OOT Master Quest over in Japan. It's pretty strange, but hey, that's how it was, I guess.
Just wanted to mention back on one thing. A few of our followers might have noticed that this is actually the second time a guest has spoken about this Barbie game. We had Mr. Rightway on here a couple of weeks ago, and he
was
purchased a
it? I
copy
think I missed that one.
of the Barbie game for his collection. He's going for a complete 3DS set. So for a complete 3DS collector, like that's the game if you're going to complete the collection or not. So
Exactly. That's the one where if you get it, that seals the deal. You are going for a full set at that point.
Or if you even see that game in the wild, like consider yourself gifted by a unicorn that you saw that thing out in the wild like that. That's not online.
I just imagine myself having a fit at some garage sale about some Barbie game, and all these people looking at me like, "What's the matter with this guy?"
and like try not to make any suspicious motions as you're trying to hand them the money and all that.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
That might be the way to play it off.
It'll be like that time when Will's, I was shaking. Trying to trip on by Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
Dish, I have to ask, tell us about your collection, man.
My collection, so it should be interesting. I started collecting, it was late 2019, really when I moved out of my original home to where I am now, because I don't know what just hit me that I just suddenly started to feel like collecting console games, because I guess I was starting to get a little bit burnt out on PC gaming, but I still prefer it though. But consoles have a special place in my heart though, because of the physical nature of it at the end of the day. I started out that I was mostly collecting PS3 stuff because they were still really, really cheap. And it is one of my favorite PlayStation systems out there. and so I started like picking up a lot of that stuff at like my local game stores. And eventually I started getting into other Nintendo stuff, but that was right around when COVID hit. And it was unfortunate that I was at that same time, I was starting wanting to pick up the games that was part of my favorite series, like most notable Silent Hill. And then when I see all the prices for them, because I remember seeing all these games for like $30, $40, and then I had a fit of rage seeing all the prices for how they are nowadays. And that's when I started getting like more selective of what I pick up. And I used to want to feel the need to go for a full set, kind of like how you did, Figsy. But well, of course, a major factor is my current living space. Like, I don't have the room to fit that. But yeah, I had that feeling to just try to like buy all the stuff while it was super cheap, even if it was stuff that I was never going to play. But now I have just like got rid of all that stuff, and now I am really selective of what I pick up. That I mainly just pick up the games like, I really do want, and I do see myself playing them. And of course, I get amazing, generous gifts from my family as well that I'll show here in a minute. And yeah, since then, very selective of what I'm picking. Like, I'm even selling some like PS5 stuff that I have shown in previous videos of mine, because I don't need this stuff at all, really. But nonetheless, so I still love collecting games as is, though. But still, with how prices are these days, like, I'm still very selective of it, and I'm still very proud of the collection that I've gotten. Where I can say I have picked up most of the stuff where I would say I lose sleep because I don't have this game in my collection. Thankfully, I have most of those games now, and thankfully, a lot of it was more of the expensive stuff. But yeah, I'm very satisfied with where it is now.
Thankfully, you're not losing sleep over Barbie and some puppies.
No, I never ever lost sleep on that because I never wanted that game to begin with. But hey, I'll have the opportunity to like have this game sit on my bookcase, which I have a picture of, because like I'm ever gonna have that on a bookshelf ever again in my life,
Speaking of losing sleep, you said the guy bought it at night. Maybe that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
I'll just check
Oh,
eBay.
maybe.
He saw the listing and then he sat there for like 5 hours just trying to sleep. Like, oh, I can't take it anymore.
Oh yeah, he did not hesitate at all, I can tell you that. He replied to my message like right away, like he wanted to make sure that he got this. In fact, I don't know if it's still up right now, but I think there's still like one listing of a loose cart that's selling for 500 if I recall. But I'm sure like even the loose carts come up, those aren't going to sell as much as complete copies, because like the only people that are buying that game is, again, the people where they have nearly a full set, and that's the last game that they need to pick up.
Yeah. So unless they have a case, they're not buying a loose cart.
Yeah.
I do that a lot though. I buy piece stuff together sometimes if it's really expensive. I've been doing that more since COVID started because
And
It's
potentially if you get like a good deal on like a loose disc, that it sells for less of what a loose one sells for, and if you just find a case and manual for like the same price, but you're still saving money if you had bought a complete copy, it just makes sense,
Yeah. So if I can get either the deal on the loose disc or the loose cart, I'll just sit on it and wait and be patient, try to get a good deal on a case and manual. But same thing with the case and manual. If it's a really sought after game and I see a good deal on one, I'll snag it and then just sit and be patient and wait and wait and wait. And it takes some time, but you can piece them together if you're patient.
I got some show and tell from this week. I picked up a loose cart it was cheap as chips. It's like this $30-$40 game. I got it for $3.
That's nice.
Went on eBay, found the case for $10, so I got a complete copy for $13. I'll go grab it before I spoil what it was.
But yeah, I've gotten a little more thrifty since COVID started, and I completely agree with you, D Street. Like, there were all these games that I've been like, I had on my list that I was going to get $30-$40, and I'm like, I'll get them, no rush. And then all of a sudden, it just seemed like overnight, all those games flip $80, $90, $100, and I was just kicking myself. So, and then now, that's when what do you got, man?
Which game is that? Is that ever Oasis?
Oh yeah, Animal Crossing Happy Home.
Oh, no.
Designer.
No, okay.
And all
Happy
the
Home
Animal
Designer.
Crossing games, right? They're essential.
Yeah,
Mhm,
it's good stuff. They're fun.
mhm.
But yeah, like I remember specifically, I had Fatal Frame 1 and 2 on PS2, and I was like, I'll get 3, and then all of a sudden now 3 is like $100 instead of 40. I was like, oh.
Isn't the second game the most expensive out of the PS2 games? As I haven't looked into getting those games yet, though, because 2 is like the what most people say is their favorite, right?
Probably. I don't know. I mean, I got 1 and 2 luckily like a long
Mhm.
time ago. So when I paid for them, they were cheap. I probably paid like 20-30 bucks tops for each of them. So who knows what they're going for now?
That's very
I'm
good.
pretty sure
Yeah.
they're all over $100. I know the PAL
Yeah.
Project Zero, it's called over here. They're all over $100.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
It's
got in like right
interesting,
before the wave crested on my PS stuff, my PlayStation stuff. I'm so happy. I got a lot of nice stuff before it got crazy.
Mhm.
So
And, speaking of Project Zero, the very first Project Zero / Fail Frame game I got was Baden of Blackwater, and it's the European collector's edition of the game, which is the only physical copy of the game that is translated into English. Because for Fail Frame 5 on the Wii U, we never got a physical release of it. It was a digital only release. So yeah, because even though I've never played the series at that moment, but I knew one day, because I love survival horror games overall, I know one day I definitely would want that. So I made sure that I pre-ordered a copy of it and like had it imported and all that. And nowadays it's yeah, you could probably guess it's a pretty sought after item for fans of the series.
It's the Wii U version, correct?
The Wii U version, yeah.
yeah,
I do
was
plan
always,
on getting the re-releases soon too.
I have like a modest Wii U collection. Like I definitely went out and got the games that I wanted, and that was definitely one of them. When I was looking it up, and I was like, oh, why didn't we get this one? I would love to have this game. You know what I mean? Like it totally blew my mind. I was just but you know. Now
It's still a good system to pick up games for, because most of even like most of the Nintendo stuff still is just ridiculously cheap, which is very shocking to see. But except for Game and Wario, I guess. But yeah, if you want like a system to get into for collecting, I can't recommend the Wii U enough. It's still really good. Still a lot of quality content on there.
And you
Yeah,
can
it's fun.
collect the full set without, needing an entire room to store it or needing
Oh yeah, because
thousands of
there's
dollars.
less than 200 titles of like physical releases, I think, per region, if I recall.
Sounds about right. Like 180, I think, something like that. Yeah.
Even people with full region sets and every variant is still like less than 500 games, which is definitely doable. And it's not like Vita collecting where every game is like $100+ dollars.
Oh yeah, I'm really kicking myself for not jumping more into the Vita for picking up physical games, even though it probably is it's either my most favorite or second most favorite handheld. I'm still just upset I didn't pick up more stuff for it, but thankfully I did get one thing on it that is one of my favorite things, which I do actually have right here that I'll show real quick.
What you got?
It's the Persona 4 Golden Solid Gold Premium Edition. I think there was less than 10,000 of these that was ever printed. And I remember this was my first introduction to a Persona, which is now like my favorite modern day JRPG series. But I remember when I first got my Vita, I was just looking up of like, hey, what's like the best games to pick up for it? This always showed up like pretty much number one on the list. And that's when I picked it up. And I originally bought it digitally on the PlayStation Store. I loved it so much. I went out and bought this, and I don't regret it at all. It's one of my favorite things that I have, and I'm never getting rid of that.
I
Is
got
that
the poor
coming to
man's
the
version.
PS4 physically? So?
Not physically. I think it's only digital releases that they're doing for like Persona 3, 4, and 5 on like all modern platforms. I don't think 4 is out yet on on other platforms right now. I know they did just release P5R on all platforms, but I don't know about the other games though.
Yeah, I think everybody regrets not buying more Vita stuff, except for PS Commander. He's cool.
Nowadays.
He's good, but everybody else does.
Mhm.
We got
Yeah,
laugh and sorry, Joe, you go.
No, that's like I honestly consider buying Vita games like I spoil myself at this point. Like I'll pick up like 1 or 2 every few months or something because they're all pretty pricey, and the ones that are the ones you want are usually pretty pricey. I did get Tales of Hearts R for it recently. That was pretty good. I paid like $60 for it. But I was
Wasn't
pretty
that
happy
a
to pick that one up.
GameStop exclusive when it first launched physically?
I think so, yeah. And
That's
then
what I heard most people say.
it's got a really nice little collector's edition, but I'm just happy to have it because I have like pretty much every Tales game, and that was like one of the ones I didn't have. So, but yeah, I love the Vita. But I'm sure it's like a dead horse. But everyone I knew just didn't get it because of the memory card. Straight up, like everybody I knew was like, "How much is it? Oh, that's kind of pricey." And then like, "How much is the memory card?" Never mind. It just wasn't.
You essentially
so much
would
more
just be
expensive than everything else that was out,
and combine if you had to pick up a game
they
afterwards
shot
too.
themselves in the foot.
And then after you like bought a game,
They like try to make more money, and it costs them so much. I swear, because by being too greedy, by trying to have that proprietary memory card.
Yeah, do you know the reason why that they went with proprietary cards? Supposedly Sony did it so that way developers had like a fixed read and write speed for the memory card, so that way people wouldn't risk like putting in one that's like a slower speed and the games just wouldn't run well for it. Pretty sure that's the statement that Sony made for it, but it just didn't help that they were just so pricey, of course.
Is that their excuse?
I think that was.
This is why they're not going to make many of them and charge a ridiculous amount for them. Like I actually collected for the Vita, and I think I had like 20 or 30 games, and I was still on the borderline of, do I want to buy a Vita and a memory card and like get into this? And then I was like, no, I don't think I do, and I sold off those games.
If you only bought physical games for the system, you could get away with just a 4 gig memory card at that time because like the yeah, I think it was just like the saves, so it would only save to the card, and they would only be like kilobytes in size. So if you only bought physical stuff, then really you just get away with a 4 gig though.
Yeah, it's almost like the PS5 though, in a way. Like just having the base PS5, you can't really have more than like 3 or 4 games installed, and we're gamers. Everyone's gonna want to play all their games on the PS5. Like I'm finding it now. I've got to just to play a new game. I've got to go in and delete old games. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I am looking into invest into getting a 2 terabyte NVMe drive for my system while holiday sales are coming up and all that. So if I find it for the right price that I'm comfortable with, then I may get it for my PS5.
But yeah, exactly that. Look, they're expensive, man, and
they can be. Yeah.
For the technology we're buying, like this type of technology on computers is now cheap and things like that. So in a few years, these drives aren't going to be that expensive, and they're going to be bigger, and like people are going to be like 2 terabytes. That's tiny.
Yeah, I'm definitely waiting to upgrade mine. I'd rather I'm cheap, so I'll wait for the downloads if I want to play a new game.
Speaking of PS5, today I got my third replacement system today.
Ooh, that's not good.
Ooh, what happened to the first two?
So the first one I got on launch day. It lasted until it was the launch day of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I was playing like the first world, and it was like the first moment where like you would go through those rift things, and just do when that happened, Ratchet was still stuck in it, and he just kept on spinning and spinning, and he just kept on going until he got out of bounds. And I was just waiting there for so long. It's like, it happened. It went on for like 10 minutes. It felt like, and if you played the game, that should only take like 1 second to go through the rifts. Until I realized, like, okay, the game is glitched or something. So, all right, let's restart the system here. I restart the console, and then I get a message on the screen saying that it's repairing the SSD. It restarted after it was done doing that. It did the same exact thing. And that told me, it's like, oh my God, no, the SSD fried itself.
Yeah, something corrupted or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there was even times when I was using that system, I would just be at the home screen and the system would just lock up. I couldn't navigate the menu at all until it just like unfroze itself and I could use it again. But yep, all of a sudden the SSD decided to just cook itself, and I just couldn't use the system anymore. And what sucks, I even took like a day off of work that day so I could play both Rift Apart and FF7R integrate because that's
Mm.
when that re-release first came out around the same time, and I couldn't do it because the console just decided to murder itself. So yeah, it took taking off that day of work completely pointless, pretty much.
You got
But
PS5 blue balls, basically. This is what happened.
essentially,
I
yeah.
think there's a meme that shows like you take a day off work and then like you spend all day like downloading updates and then you get into the game and it doesn't work.
Oh yeah, exactly. But thankfully, I did have a warranty on the system though when I picked it up at my local GameStop. So I did get my replacement. It was like 2 days after I took it back to them.
That's pretty
And
fast. It's not bad.
oh yeah, it was really fast. I was impressed with that. But now with this second system, it lasted quite a long time. But it was earlier last week, the disk drive started making like a grinding noise every time when you would put in a disk and eject it. It just made like a pretty uncomfortable noise that sounded like it was about to either like fall apart inside and scratch up the disk or just completely die out. So you know what? I don't want to deal with that, and I still got a warranty on the system. So I took it over to them today. They did have some systems in stock, and I just got my replacement in the same day.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And so far, of what I tested with the system, because I did get it set up before this, and I am transferring my backup onto it, that everything is working perfectly fine, and the box is actually in good condition for once. Because the previous two, like the corners of the box, was just dented and creased up so much. Like it was like if like their FedEx delivery man, they when they were transferring shipments, they just like took the boxes and just like threw it into the back of the truck for all those systems. That's just how badly conditioned that those boxes were in, though. Like I was annoyed by that because I still want to keep it because it'd be a nice display piece, you know. But
Yeah, of course. But 90% of people buying them don't care about the box. So, like the people who are throwing them around, they don't care.
oh yeah,
I think
especially
we
like
need to have
cartridge
like
games.
we need to have a summit between video game collectors and all shipping companies. When we meet down, we were just like, listen, guys, when we say collector's edition, put it in a box. All right. Don't put it in a bag. Don't step on it. Don't use it as a seat. All right.
Yeah, most
so
people
often,
who
like, you get new stuff that's like damaged. It's like,
oh yeah, most people who bought that Last of Us Part 1 remake, a collector's edition or Firefly
Oh,
edition, would like to
yeah.
have a word with the shipping companies or just the people who package the thing to begin with.
I'm pretty sure Sony actually came out and offered everyone refunds, and
Did
or
they? I didn't hear
replacement.
that.
Yeah, one of my friends, James, got one and ended up getting his replacement copy, and it was sent out in good condition. So, but you had to jump
That's
through
good.
a few hoops later on to get it. But that was
Mhm.
awful because everyone's was arriving damaged, like absolutely everyone's, and it was The
Uh-huh.
Last of Us, huge release.
Oh yeah, huge release. One that I did not pick up because I refused to spend more than $30 on that game because I already bought the previous version so many times, played through the game so many times that this is insane to me and nothing but a cash grab in my opinion though. But
I agree with you. I won't pay
when
more.
it's less than $30, that's when I'll pick it up.
I'm pretty tired of remakes in general. Like I'm pretty excited about Resident Evil 4. I'm not gonna lie, that sounds cool. But
And Silent Hill too.
and Silent Hill, or maybe I like some remakes. But I don't know if it just didn't seem necessary, especially
No,
right on the
not at
heels of
all.
Part 2 coming out. It's like, so what? When 3 comes out, are they gonna remake 2? And then when 4 comes out, are they gonna remake 3? Is that what we're gonna do? We're gonna buy
Yeah, but
every
let's get on
game.
to remakes here. They're remaking a game that firstly came out on the PS3 and then was remastered on the PS4. Now, it's already on the PS4. Like, that's
And the
the
PS4
system that you
version.
can play on the fucking PS5. So you
Yeah,
can
and the
already play
PS4
that.
version even got updates for like the PS4 Pro to play in like 4K at like 30 FPS, and even on like the PS5, I'm sure the PS4 version plays at 4K 60 FPS as well. So they kept like updating the game for the hardware and all that stuff. And then this remake comes out, which on the PS3, in my opinion, it still looks phenomenal on there. It's just one of the few games where just a remake was absolutely not needed for this at all. Someone's calling me right now, but I declined it.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I'll wait till it's cheap and I'll pick it up and try it out. I'm sure it's fine, but again, it's just the price they were charging was ludicrous for what it is. If they had come out with a more reasonable price point for it, all right, that's fine.
But the games that do deserve a remake, like without a doubt, Silent Hill 2, because that game is one of like the few, in my opinion, that where like it deserves to be in a museum. It needs to be discussed. I'm like, this is how you make a survival horror game, how you do a narrative in a game. And it's a shame that the original version, the original intended way to play it on the PS2 is just so unobtainable for the vast majority of people these days. And that's just one of many reasons why I'm glad the SH2 remake is happening, because more people need to experience that, and it's old enough that a remake is totally justified for it.
Not just that, they made a remaster on PS3 and it was terrible. So that game hasn't had justice done for it.
I was just going to make a bad joke about that. I'm like, you can always pick up the old PS3 version
for $25 and all that, and have such an inferior Troy Baker voice acting in it.
Why not?
That was my first experience to Silent Hill 2, by the way.
Oh my god, I feel horrible for you, Figsy. It's okay, but if you have the chance to play the PS2 version, because that's the best way to play the game still. But hey, for some people, that's the only way to do it, then by all means do so. But man, I feel bad for you.
Hey, while we're on this topic, let's ask each of us one game that could be remade or remastered today. What would you pick? I'll go because I know this game off the top of my head.
Yeah,
Any
you
day
go
of the week.
first.
It's Scarface. I've spoken about it on many podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So remade. I would love like a full-on remake of the original Phantasy Star game.
That's a good pick.
I love that game, and it's really simplistic, and I'll enjoy it for what it is forever, and it doesn't need to be remade. I'm not saying it's like gotta be, but I think that would be fantastic to have like a full-on fleshed out, AAA version, modern graphics, expanded story. Oh yeah, Phantasy Star 2. Oh yeah, that was like one of the best days of my life. I'll never forget that. Like, me and my brothers and my dad, we played it on Phantasy Star 1. Like all of us, we were obsessed. We played it dozens of times. And I remember my dad took us to Child World, which is this like old store. It was like Toys R Us basically. And he's like, "All right, you guys can't come inside," to me and my brother. And we were like, "Excuse me? We're going to the toy store and we're not coming." Excuse me? He's like, "I don't have time for this. I'm just going to run in and grab what I want. And you're going to be happy and just sit there and shut up," basically. And we were like so mad, just like sitting there stewing, because it's like you go to Disneyland and you make us sit in the parking lot, basically. And then he came out and he pulled out Phantasy Star 2, dude, and we lost it. We were like, "Oh my," because we had no idea it existed. We didn't even know it was a thing, and he did. And dude, this thing was like it was like $100 back then to get this game. It's like $90 for this Genesis game. And like, oh man, yeah, it was like, so good. And a lot of people hate on Phantasy Star 2 because it's got some flaws to it, but I still love it. Like it was fantastic. I thought it was so amazing.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
For me, like of obvious one for me, if people know me, like either Metal Gear Solid 1 or Metal Gear Solid 3, but one that title that be that's much lesser known these days that I think would be great for remake is Brave Fencer Musashi on the PS1. You guys ever heard of that?
That's my favorite PS1 game, dude. That's the reason I own. That's the reason I have this collection is Brave Fencer Musashi.
Oh, really?
That was the game that made me started collecting games again. As I had it when I was a kid, and when I was like older, like I was like, I want to play that again, and I couldn't find my copy, and so I just started collecting, and it's because of that game. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that one. Love that game.
And I never had the game back then. I still haven't even played through the game. The only experience I had with it is just playing a PS1 demo of it back then. I loved it so much that I played it repeatedly, that it always just was in the back of my mind throughout the whole years. I'm like, I remember that one demo of a game that I played religiously alongside the first Metal Gear Solid, because that's how I originally had my first exposure to that game as well. But every once I could never remember the name of it, but until I finally was able to properly Google it, it's like, oh yeah, that's that game. It's like, it's so incredible with like its voice acting, the characters, like almost every cutscene, they just have some funny lines to say that, yeah, hopefully I'll be able to play through that one of these days, and also hopefully buy a copy of it as well too.
I'm gonna put my hand up for Metal Gear Solid 3 as well. I religiously play that at least once a year. Play through that game, and just the stealth in that game. Some of the things you can do, like
the story, the music ties so perfectly to the game. Like the caution theme, like if you ever play the game, like get into a caution phase and like pay attention to like the timer and the musical instruments. They are tied so perfectly with one another that Harry Gregson Williams, like, he is one of the best composers ever in the industry, and it's just a shame that he doesn't do a lot of stuff in the industry, but the stuff that he has, oh my god, it's all been perfect.
On Metal Gear, might be a little bit controversial, but some people don't like Metal Gear Solid 5. What do you guys think of Metal Gear Solid 5? I put like 200, 300 hours into that game. Like,
I put 200 hours into it. It's a lot of fun to play, but looking at it as a Metal Gear fan, for like half the reason why I love the series, like the story aspect of it, it was super disappointing for like half of the game, but the other half, for like the gameplay, a lot of fun. And it's unfortunate that game is clearly unfinished with its story and how the missions turned out in like the Act 2 after you killed off like the one main bad guy. But I've been thinking about replaying it though one of these days. But yeah, looking back on it, it's more disappointing, but it's still a fun game to play though.
I've replayed it so many times, and I want to replay it again. It's just the start is really slow, and it's boring until you get up to those points. Like the first mission is 20 minutes of crawling through fire.
I mean, I haven't played it. I've just heard the complaints from most people. It's just too much cinema and not enough gameplay and stuff like that. But
I'd honestly make your own opinion, Joe. I'll go down and put it up there.
Oh, I always do. I love terrible games that people say they don't like. I have no problem playing them and liking them. So
is one of them DK64?
That's no, but
I like to think of you know how like you get Hitman and Sniper Elite games where you can go off and do your own thing. I still don't think that there's a better game out there than Metal Gear Solid 5 in that aspect. Like, if you get it from a Metal Gear Solid game, but think of it of like a mission-based game where you can go and do things. I don't think there's a better game out there in terms of how you can interact with the guards and like what you can do. You can approach a mission so many ways, and like the Hitman games are all about that. I think Metal Gear Solid does it better.
That's funny. So who else is excited for PSVR 2?
I'm definitely interested in it. I'm just not putting in update 1.
Yeah, I'll be waiting a few years, that's for sure. But Joe, I know you possibly have you pre-ordered it.
Oh, I did. I FOMO'd out immediately and ordered it the second I possibly could, because I am just terrified of not being able to get one when I finally want one. So I'm not playing that game. And I just got my invite and got it as soon as I could order it. So I'm pretty excited.
Oh, they had like a queue for it to order it?
Yeah, so you had to get an invite from the PlayStation Direct store to purchase it, and then you had to log in during a certain time to purchase it. Although I have heard there are some retailers in Canada and stuff like that are selling it as well, so it's not going to be impossible to find. But
got some supporters in chat, Joe. Video,
yeah,
he's got his pre-order in as well.
I'm super excited for it. The launch lineup for the games isn't like blowing my mind too much, but definitely.
I'm really interested in City Skylines VR though.
Me too.
That sounds cool.
It looks really fun, and it's cheap too. And then I'm really looking forward to that. Switchback, the basically Until Dawn Rush of Blood sequel looks fantastic. Those games are really fun.
Yeah, they're kind of repeating the launch of the first PSVR where they did have an Until Dawn game at launch there.
Mm-hmm. I'm really pumped about those games. I really like that, and I just feel like if you're into horror, this is going to be it's going to be an awesome time for horror fans because they're really going to make more of an effort to have the option of most games have a VR option. I think you'll see like a bigger push for that, and it won't be as hard to do. That's going to be cool. Yeah, because
it'll be like eventually everything's going to have a VR mode. It will just become part of gaming.
Certain genres are better.
Like Kinect, where you buy a PS5, it comes with the VR, and that's just how they come.
What I want, if you're listening, Sony, more than anything, is I know you're making a new Twisted Metal game. Please make it VR. Please, so I can get the steering wheel and put on my VR headset and drive around in the ice cream truck. Please make it.
Just anything with Twisted Metal, please.
I want that more than anything because you're in a car. You don't have to. It's just it'll play right, and then give me like some missile buttons on the wheel. Oh man!
Imagine if you're playing Sweet Tooth in Twisted Metal Black, and if you morph into that Transformer, imagine how that would be.
And you
VR.
like stand up, and you get like 10 feet tall, shooting missiles. Yeah, that could be. I'm interested, so I'm pretty excited about it. I feel like it's not going to be, as popular as I want it to be, but I think it'll do well this time. And I think having the actual 4K headset and have it really look nice, because let's be honest, the PSVR 1 kind of looked like butt. It was,
like they were limited for the hardware to keep it affordable, but they had to accommodate, they got to render the game on 2 separate screens per eye. So, and to make sure it was a high frame rate so people don't get sick playing it aside. But some people still suffer.
They still got sick. Most people have to get.
That's the reason I didn't buy one. Honestly, I went around my friend's place. I used his for 2 hours, and I was sick. I didn't throw up, but I had to sit down for a while. I had a sore head. Like it just turned a fun gaming experience into something that wasn't enjoyable. And if I'm buying something, it's because I want to play Skyrim for 100 hours in VR. I don't want to play a game for half an hour.
Were you playing Vomit Simulator? Because that would make sense.
No. I was playing like one of the space games.
That was like the Star Wars Squadrons game where you fly around in the spaceship in full 3D and you can go in.
Pretty sure that's what it was.
That's definitely going to do it when you can go in full 360. I can imagine that one's pretty bad for that. But there's a lot of games that are mostly, I don't know. I like puzzle games a lot for VR and stuff like that. And there's not a lot
perfect for VR.
Yeah, there's not a lot of moving around. It's more just like studying and moving and interacting with stuff, and those games are fun. So
and playing those, that can really like make you smart of like building things in real life too, because you're just constantly moving all over the place and just adjusting like how can you make this work if you're making a tower of something, Did you ever play The Room VR? I haven't played that because that looks really interesting.
I have it because it didn't come out physically. I'm pretty much like there are some games I own digitally only, but if it's not physically released, I probably haven't played it. Just that person. I'm just I still haven't played Beat Saber because I'm holding out hope. Someday they're gonna release that game. Come on.
That was one of the first things I bought with my Valve Index. I was not missing out on Beat Saber. It's so much fun. And if you mod it and put in custom tracks, you will have the time of your life.
Oh, I know.
And a good workout, too.
It's okay. I have Synth Riders because that came out physically. That was pretty good, too.
You get a PSVR remake. So on the PSVR, is it going to be available on PS4 or is it only on PS5?
I believe it will only work on PS5.
because
I
it
guess.
uses a Type-C port for the front of the PS5. So yeah, it's not going to work on PS4.
Yeah, it won't interface with the old box and everything either at all. So it's just gonna have one wire that goes into the PS5, and that's it.
Oh, that's
And
probably a good thing, you know.
yeah, I mean, no wires would be better, but if they have to do it with the
Still
wire,
much
that's fine
better
with me.
than the original headset for that you had a literal crack in the middle of your room, it felt.
Yeah, which is funny to mention it. I actually recently I don't know, saw one of that pickup I posted. I got a sealed VR headset for $50 off of
Oh yeah, that
trade
was
site.
crazy.
And like the box was
Wow.
junk, but like the headset, still sealed brand new, and it turned out to be one of the original Generation 1 headsets, and they have like a different cord for plugging the headset, and they have like a different wire setup, which is it's ridiculous. Like it's so
I've sold
obnoxious.
them in the past. It is ridiculous.
And
the processor, and oh my god.
but it was cool because I'm as a collector or whatever, like I'm happy to have it. So I got like the Generation 1 headset, and I just actually, let me show you. So I ended up picking up one of these because the box was trash. So I bought this like
A carrying case for it.
yeah, and so now I have the brand new headset all sealed and up here with everything in here, and I'm just going to display it like this.
And that thing looks like it's pretty well made and solid, that nothing is going to get damaged inside.
I paid more for the case than the headset.
Yeah, but still, it was cheaper than what the headset would have cost.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And he had that threw in that
Nice.
new brand new sealed pack of controllers.
That's $100 right there.
Yeah, the guy was just like, "Oh, I know, I never used it." I'm like, "Oh well, I will, thanks." I'm like, not a problem. He was a really cool dude. Yeah, and you know how people are on these sites too. So like, I talked to him on like Monday, and he's like, "Oh, I work like third shift. How about we meet up this weekend?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it'll be gone by then." But all right, sounds good. And then like on Friday, I checked in and it said sold on the site. And I'm like, but I messaged him. I'm like, "Hey man, did you actually sell this?" Or and he's like, "No, I just marked it sold because I figured we'd meet up with you." I'm like, "Oh my god, you're a nice person. Oh, awesome, thank you, sweet." I was so excited.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, that never happens. I figured he'd be
It
like,
happens
man,
1 in every 10.
you snooze, you lose. I sold it 10 minutes after I said I'd text you back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Someone told me it was worth nothing, so I gave it to him for $10.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I don't know if you've seen one of the comments in the Discord, but it was really interesting. Someone was saying they don't like the fact that there aren't many PS5 games, to the point where like games made on PS5 that are too powerful to run on PS4. And it's a good point. Like games are being made so they can also be sold on PS4, and that's like holding back games. What do you guys think about that?
As someone who I really like collecting for PS4, but at some point I do want them to stop so I can have like an end game in mind. Like I don't want them to be releasing PS4 games for the next 10 years because I constantly have that mental like conflict, like which version should I be picking up here? Like, do I want the PS5 version? Do I want the PS4 for my collection? And then I end up buying both, and I want that to stop. So I want them to just kind of like move on to the PS5. And I think from a marketing perspective, they really do need more games that will push people off of the PS4 onto PS5. I know a lot of people who just call the PS5 the PS4 Pro. They don't look at it as anything other than a fancier way to play their PS4 games. They don't care. And there's some of those heavy hitters, they have Demon Souls. Ghostwire Tokyo is really good. There's
Returnal as well.
Yeah, Returnal.
They need to be console sellers. Now, Demon Souls is a console seller, but it was the launch title. I think Silent Hill will be a console seller.
I agree. God of War Ragnarok is. God of War is absolutely going to be.
Though, so it's not, because why would you? If you got to put yourself in the mind of a gamer who's probably young, doesn't have much money, is playing the games that they want to play. If they've got a PS4 Pro, they're not going to go out to buy a PS5 to get that unless it's an exclusive. So,
no, I'd agree with you.
And plus, it's still hard for a lot of people to get a PS5 anyway. So in a sense, it is nice for Sony to offer their newest big hitters on the previous console so that way they don't miss out on the game. But it, as long as they offer like some way to, they can use that PS4 game to upgrade to the PS5 version whenever they do get the system, and hopefully Jim Ryan doesn't screw you out on it. But yeah, it's understandable why, like, isn't it until like 2024 they're still going to be putting like most of their first party games onto the PS4? That's
Yeah. And exactly, and I don't like that. Like, what's the argument that God of War Ragnarok was made like not to the capabilities that it could have been if it was a PS5 exclusive? Are there some things in the game that they had to like, oh, we can't do that because it won't run at 60 frames on a PS4, so we have to like, you know, turn down the frame rate here or blah blah blah. Like, I don't know if that's the case, but it sounds
Could
like
be.
it is the case, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
it's annoying for those that already invested a lot into the PS5, such as myself, of course. And as someone who is like plus like a tech enthusiast, where I like to have the best experience possible of whatever's available to me, as long as I can afford it, of course. But it is really just annoying that, you know, in the back of your head, you know, this game could have done more things if the developers didn't have to accommodate so much resources on a system that came out back in 2013 and already had anemic hardware for that time for its graphics processing, you know. But oh well, it is what it is.
I'd almost argue the point that we aren't in a new generation. We're still in last generation because we're still playing new games on PS4. A game like Cyberpunk is a PS5 game. It doesn't work on the PS4.
Oh no, that did not.
Like, but and we should be seeing more games like that because the games should be made for the new systems. Like same with the Xbox One X. You know, if a game comes out today that doesn't work on PS4, people shouldn't be unhappy about that. People should be like, all right, great, we're getting next gen games. You know, you
I
need
agree.
top of the range PC, top of the range. I mean, all the new consoles to play. Not saying, you know, you should be able to play games on old PCs. You're still going to be able to do that, but you know, there should be certain games out there that it's a new gen. You know, you're buying the new consoles, the new hardware, and you're getting new gen games.
Because you want those defining titles that define that generation for you. Because, you know, of like way back then on the NES, Super Nintendo, you got the stuff that defined like how 2D games were. Then you jump to PS1, PS2, all the phenomenal titles and developers learning how 3D games work. You know, there's lots of titles that whenever we think of that generation, we think of those games. Today, it's just like, yeah, you get those same games on those platforms, but hey, the game loads in just 2 seconds. That's
it is awesome,
gratifying right there, which is nice, of course, but it doesn't have that same like wow factor way back then, you know.
I agree. There's the only game. Well, there's a couple, but the only one I played on PS5 that really made me feel like, wow, I'm playing real next gen was Ratchet and Clank. I feel like that game was just absolutely amazing to look at. Beautiful, gorgeous. Demon Souls was really beautiful too. I mean, it really was. But
well, they used the controller features. And like they really incorporated the haptic feedback and different things like that.
Yeah, like you said, that was designed for PS5. Like they were like, we want this to highlight what this thing can do, what this new hardware is going to give you. You know, the super fast SSD is going to give you all this crazy stuff, and it just, oh god, it was a gorgeous game.
I would love them to see them make like an RPG that struggles to run on PS5. Could you imagine how powerful?
Well, I could find that for the wrong reasons, but
you know what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
You know, it's just running on this.
Yeah,
system.
I know what you mean. Oh, speaking of, you guys playing any new RPGs or anything? I'm playing the new Star Ocean, and it's really fun.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
I haven't started playing any, but I am watching one of my best friends. His name is Brightheart online, and I am watching him play Persona 5 Royal for the first time, and like I've played like the game a ton, you could say, but it's one of those games where it's a different experience if you watch someone play it. And I'm so glad we're doing that because I can't tell you how much fun it is of hearing his reactions to stuff. And we're putting in our ideas of like say like what we should name our character. Like we've made if I recall, we named the main character, it's fish stick shish kebab. And and it's I don't know, it's so funny when like the other characters when they say his name, it's always like shish kebab coon. It's just so funny to me. But yeah, I haven't started any RPGs lately, but I've just been watching my friend play P5R, which, like I said, is so much fun and so funny.
Yeah, that's a fun one to watch. Just with like the relationships and stuff too. It's fun. You could like egg them on and tell them to do bad stuff and make the wrong decisions. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, I love Persona 5. That game, that was the first Persona game I ever played. And
It was worse for a lot of people.
yeah, I heard of it, the series, but the games were always expensive even back then on PS1 and stuff like that. And yeah, I
And they
loved
still are, yeah.
it. Yeah, those are love to have them, but not worried about it. Games, but yeah, that game, so much fun, so much character in that game. Like the music and like I don't even know, just like the camera angles they choose to show you in the rooms. It's so artistic, and I love that game. Like it's just a beautiful experience. Like overall, it's really fun.
The presentation of it too, with
Yeah.
like all the menus, like all the menus have its own unique flair to them, and seeing like the main character just interact with them, it's such good attention to detail. You never imagined that they would put that much time into it, but they did. Another thing to consider, you could say like Persona 5, it's essentially the Final Fantasy 7 equivalent to the series. It's
That's fair.
it's the one that most people jumped into, and it's the one that's the most popular and just made everyone else just want to play like all the other stuff. And in this case, it's like most other Shin Megami Tensei stuff now.
It's the access point because it's cheap. It's on all the modern systems. I think it's even on Game Pass at the moment. So
It
you can get
is,
in
yeah.
for
That's how me and my
$3.
friend are playing it right now, is on Game Pass.
I think it's a good comparison to Final Fantasy 7 too, because it's an RPG, JRPG that's going to appeal to non-JRPG fans. Like it's such a popular game, people who aren't even into the genre will try that out. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Just like
could
Final
you
Fantasy 7, like people
Oh,
are like,
yeah.
I got to play it. Everybody's playing it. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll try. You know?
Yeah, imagine like all the dude bros out there where they only play like every year's COD and Madden, and they are introduced to JRPGs with Persona 5. Oh, I hope it's a great experience for them. Like, what is all this anime weep stuff that we're
Why am I back
Why
at
is-
school?
Why is
Where
this
am I?
cat talking to me? What is happening?
Am I playing two different games? What's going on?
Why is my teacher a maid working for a maid service that magically showed up in this building that's like, where did we find this place anyway?
The teacher coming over as a maid, that did catch my attention. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's
we
an
had such a
interesting
laugh
plot
when
line.
that happened.
I've been playing something completely different, guys.
Wait.
A game that got remade for PS4, the Spyro trilogy. I finished number 3, and I always wanted to go back and do 1 and 2 and do all the trophies. So I've been playing Spyro 1 again, and it is such a fantastic game. Like it came out in '98, I believe, and like
It's
those
something like
levels
that.
are fantastic.
Oh,
For a 20-plus-year-old game, it's absolutely fantastic.
and one of the most beautiful games on PS1 for sure. Like I love how that game looks, even on the old school system.
I still think the originals hold up perfectly fine today. They're still just incredible amounts of fun to play, and the animations I think still look very, very good as well too. And the music, oh, glorious it is.
I'm having a heap of fun going back getting these trophies. However, I'll probably start the new Pokemon games today, so I might put that on a hiatus for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it'll eat up your time for sure.
I guess.
Hey, gentlemen, I did want to talk about something today.
Mhm.
Did you guys see the new Video Game Plus releases? In particular, the PS4 reprints of Attack on Titan 2, Final Blast, and Berserk: Band of the Hawk.
I haven't seen those. No.
Oh yeah, I definitely hopped on that bandwagon, and I ordered both. Absolutely.
The Attack on Titan ones, those are pretty valuable titles, right? I know the Switch versions are pretty valuable, but has
Yeah,
like
so
all
if you
versions been
don't
valuable?
fully know what's going on, Attack on Titan 2 Final Blast and Berserk Band of the Hawk were both $100 plus PS4 games.
Mhm.
So Video Game Plus is a company in Canada that have reprinted them. Well, what they've done is they've taken an open pre-order, sort of similar to limited run games. So anyone that wanted a copy, they're basically giving you one for retail price. So I like the idea of it.
That's not how they started, though, dudes.
Okay,
So,
go on,
what
Jay.
they did like 1,000 copies. You had to be there at this time to get your copy, and it sold out in 3 minutes. And everybody was flipping out, including myself, because I was one of those people where it was like, all right, adding to cart, don't refresh your screen or you're going to lose your spot. And so I sat there for like 20 minutes and nothing happened. And then I refreshed and it was sold out. And anyway, like everyone was losing their mind. So after that, they were like, open pre-order for 3 days. Anybody who wants a copy. And so then they did
It's the way it should
which,
be.
Which
Damage control.
I'm so pleased with they did it. I have no hate. I was so mad at first, but it was like I couldn't be more happy that they said, all right, we'll do an open pre-order. Everybody who wants one, you can get one. You got 3 days. That's it. So I thought that was really cool.
That is.
Yeah. And
now I like what they do.
That's what they're doing now with Berserk. They just did an open pre-order. They didn't do this 1,000 copies thing. So
I like this. I'm coming from the perspective of someone that owns both of these games sealed, where a month ago they're worth $200, today they're worth $50. But I really like this. And I'd love to see them do Godzilla, or I've heard someone mention on the Facebook group, and it's very possible, seeing that they're doing Koei titles, Blue Reflection might get a reprint.
That's good.
I think they're gonna do that because on the Twitter, on the Twitter, I sound like an old 1,000-year-old person. On the Twitter with the kids with it.
On the Twitter with Elon.
They somebody put in there. They were like, "Hey, any chance of doing Blue Reflection?" And they said, "Stay tuned." So I definitely jumping on that if they put that one up there.
I might jump on that too.
I put up. I was like, "Hey, please do Crystar." Thank you. I'm just gonna go through my collection personally and find the games I want them to do. But like this one, yeah.
Oh, and you guys gonna renew or get a license for Godzilla stuff and all that? But then again, I don't know if I want to buy that because that game is still awful.
You know who did Godzilla?
No, who did that?
It was Benko Namco. So, I mean, it's possible that we may see a reprint in the future. I wouldn't pull it off the cards.
That's going to be difficult because it's Godzilla. They got to renew the license for it because that's the reason why that they had to pull the game is because the license expired for them to sell it, and that's why all of a sudden the prices just shot up like crazy after that because it's not on the digital store. So if you want to buy the game now, you got to get those expensive physical copies now.
Well, don't listen to me. I don't know anything.
In that Twitter thread, someone said, "Hey, are you going to do Godzilla?" And they said, like straight up, like we looked into it, it's impossible
because of the licensing stuff.
So then I went back on eBay and started looking at Godzilla again. I'm like, all right, I'll try.
But like, I would love to see the expensive PS4 games done, and not obviously we're not talking, Poop Slinger or Tamishi because
no.
People don't want that reprinted. I mean, some collectors would, but these other games are Blue Reflections and an amazing RPG. That's why it's expensive.
Yeah, the good games that are high quality, but unfortunate are just
retail released games. I'm not expecting. Reprint a limited run game or a limited rare, strictly limited. But yeah, any retail game that's just crazy expensive now. Like I would love them to do another one. So. And they're just going to be printing money, so I'm pretty sure they're going to keep doing it. I think they're pretty happy with how it's gone. They did because they did Attack on Titan 2 on the Switch and sold out immediately, and they did the other one and it sold out immediately. And I'm sure that they'll keep it up. So it's really cool. I think it's exciting. Now, my question is: are they going to differentiate at all between the two? Are they just going to look identical?
That's a Ricky question.
Yeah, no, we're going to have him order them and open them because nobody else will.
I'm not too familiar with the NTSC copies, but I don't know if they have manuals or not. So
I probably not.
Most of the time they don't, anyways.
And that's another thing I was curious to ask you is like, do you think? like, will if the NTSC copy gets reprinted, will that really affect the Australian copy that much? Or you know what I mean? Like, because that's not getting reprinted, you know.
Well, it wasn't an Australian copy. There was just a PAL release.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think it will a little bit because majority of people buying this aren't collectors. They're people who want to play the game. So they don't care what version they're buying because it's region free. That's how I see it. I know there's going to be a lot of people out there like me who want it for their collection, but there's plenty of collectors out there, plenty listening right now, don't care what version they get. They just want to play it in English.
For sure, yeah.
And especially when it wasn't even released here, the option between an NTSC or a UK copy, there really isn't a difference.
Yeah,
when the difference is $150, that's a big swing.
Easy choice. Easy choice. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, like I said, I'll buy PAL copies of games for really rare games if I want to play them. Like I said, I have a PAL Crystar and I have a PAL Brigandine. I have, because I wanted to play those games and I'm not paying the prices right now. So,
unfortunately for me, if it exists in my region, that's the only version that I want personally. But
it's the only one I want, but that's not necessarily what else.
But if it is a series where I do love, like I love the franchise so much, like great example, Resident Evil, I will go out of my way to like pick up the other region versions of them as well, because most of the time they have like different like box arts on them. Or in the case for Resident Evil in Japan, it's called Biohazard over there. To me, that's interesting enough to want to import those personally.
I agree with you, actually. I'll if there's a game series I really like, I'll buy the cover variant from another region if it's cool.
I've got all the Dark Souls cover variants.
Yeah, Japan too. Like Japan sometimes it drives me crazy because they won't have English, but I'm like I want it just because the cover art looks amazing. Some of the stuff they get, like it's killing me, dude. But yeah. Do you guys ever buy like non-English games just for the collection? Do you have like any like sets games that you collect like that?
I have picked up a few recently, like Galarians on PS1, which it came in like this limited edition thing where it has like this outer sleeve where it's like full art of the main character, and it has like a standard double case, jewel case of the game, and there's a separate case in it which is like a jewel case, but it's a memory card holder. And it was really, really cheap. And not only that, it came with 2 memory cards as well, with Biohazard saves on it as well as Galarian saves. So yeah, it was really cheap. And
I have a question for you guys: do your PS2 games not have memory card slots holders, or do they?
Most of them do, but not all of them.
Okay. So yeah, I've just had a thought there. Maybe American games don't for a second, but majority of ours do, especially the blue cases. I'm pretty sure they all do.
It's just the late release cases. That's just when they stripped them out, really. When did they start making those cases where they took out the memory card holders? It was sometime after the PS3 launched, right?
Yeah, it was definitely towards the end, as far as I know. I don't come across. I honestly come more with the memory card than without, for sure. To be honest with you.
Towards the end, I think we had 5 years where the PS2 was still releasing games while the PS3 was out. Well, we got FIFA 14, so
that's pretty
true. Yeah.
Hey, gentlemen, I started a little game last week. I don't know if you guys seen, but it was called Guess That Game. So I'm going to read out a couple of clues, and you guys have to guess the game.
Sounds good.
Pretty simple.
Barbie puppy collect. No.
So the first game features a Spice Girl.
Okay.
That's next.
I'm gonna say Spice World because that's all I got for PS.
No, that's incorrect.
I got nothing.
So I'll give you guys another hint. It's a PS3 game.
Is it?
It's not Catherine, is it?
No.
Is it? What's it called?
So it features a Spice Girl, and it's a PS3 game.
Charlie's Angels? I have no idea.
I'll open it up to chat as well.
All right. Is it Blades of Time? That is a female lead.
So I got one final hint.
All right.
Oh, James has got it.
I can't see the chat, so
I'm not looking at it anyways. Yeah.
I'll leave it for you guys because you aren't seeing chat. So one
Mhm.
final hint: it's a fitness game.
Is it Zumba Fitness?
Is it
Nope.
Rambo?
No.
I
So
don't know.
James got it. Points to James. It was Get Fit with Mel B.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, that would have been my next guess.
I think,
I think I had that at one point. Matter of fact.
to further educate us, I think you need to stream that game live to show us what it is. I'm sure you got it.
Oh my god! All right, next game. So this next game is a sport game set in Australia.
Rugby 2012.
No.
All
right, so next clue, because that might be a little bit broad. It's set in Melbourne.
I know nothing about Australia.
Neither do I. I know nothing about sports, honestly.
I know you're
Alright.
really barking up the wrong tree.
The next couple of clues should really help you out.
Okay.
It's a PS4 title.
All right. In Melbourne, Australia.
So a sport game set in Australia, in
Mhm.
Melbourne, on the PS4.
I'm gonna say
Open up the chat. We've got a couple of
cricket.
people saying AFL, but that is
Cricket.
incorrect.
I don't.
Cricket is incorrect as well. All right. So one final guess. I'm actually going to tell you the sport, but you still have to tell me the game.
All right.
So the sport is tennis.
So it's Hello Kitty Cruisers. I don't know, man.
That's not tennis.
Open up the chat.
My Australian tennis background is not deep.
My sports background is non-existent.
Yeah, we got a winner. Robert Turner's got it. It's the Australian Open tennis game.
Nice.
But wouldn't be able to guess it at all.
Yeah, I'm a nerd. You got to talk about Star Trek or something, man. I don't know.
All right, I'm sure you will get
Sport,
this next
I
one.
don't
This
know.
next one's probably a little bit easier.
All right.
Okay, so this game was based off a TV show. It's a PS3 game.
Okay.
PS3 game based off a TV show.
It's X-Men Wolverine.
Incorrect. All right, I'm
Yeah.
going to give you guys the genre of the show. It was a
Alright.
crime show.
Ooh.
I'm not good at this game, bro.
It's-
The Godfather, the Dawn edition.
Incorrect. I got a nice guesses in chat, but that's not correct. All right.
Mafia.
Final hint is it contains 4 letters. 3 people in chat just said CSI.
NCIS.
Ding 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 ding
CIS,
ding
yeah,
ding.
it would
I got
either
it.
be NCIS or CSI, either of those two.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Oh, they're all the games I had, guys. So thanks for playing.
Woo.
So here's a question for you guys. What is probably the most generous thing that your family, friends, loved ones gifted you that is a part of your collection that you cannot ever get rid of? Because I'll show you mine right here.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh, pff. I mean, my family don't like me that much, bro.
My family is crazy, is what this is right here.
That's amazing, dude.
I remembered your post when you got that, man.
Yeah, I shared a screenshot with you. That was that same night that I got it. It was during my mother's retirement party that they gifted that to me. My father, he was just standing next to me. He handed me a Walmart grocery bag, and he said to me, "It's like, yo, look what I found at like a garage sale over in like Pennsylvania." It's like, what? What did you get me? So as I'm like grabbing the bag, I didn't like look into it. I just like not looking into it. I like grabbed it and then slowly pulled it out. I think it was just like this half, the bottom half, when I could see the end, as soon as I saw that, I just like dropped it on the floor and my heart rate went to like 200. I screamed, ran down the hallway in the house, and just, yeah, I was ecstatic. Let's just say.
What's the story behind them finding it at a garage sale?
They didn't find it at a garage. So my dad, he bought it straight out online, but really the whole story goes, it was a month or two before I got it. We took a vacation. I can't remember off the top of my head where it was, but me and my dad, we went to a flea market in the area we were at, and we came to one booth that was selling games. And it was a young kid that I swear he was probably like 11 or 12 years old. There was like two PS2 games in the case. It was Ape Escape 3 and Psychonauts was in there that caught my attention. I asked him like how much he was selling them for. He told me that, and then the conversation ended up being where the kid mentioned that his uncle owns Kuon, that he has it up for a display on a shelf. And then when started like going to the next booth, my dad then asked me like, "What was that game that kid was talking about?" Then I told him about the game, and I guess since I told him that for like just like a few seconds and showed him like a picture of the game and everything, that's when he decided like he's gonna try to get me the game.
He's like, Christmas off the list. Tick.
It's like 3 Christmases off the list.
The best mother retirement party gift of all time, right there.
Ever.
Mhm.
That's an awesome story. I love that.
Yeah, it is a complete copy too. As my dad knows, like I only collect complete stuff and all that, but he wasn't the only one paid for it. Like all my other family members, like they chimed in on it as well too. So it was just an absolute generous thing from the whole family. They didn't have to do it. They're so crazy for doing that, but I appreciate it nonetheless, though. And hopefully I never will have to get rid of it, because if I do and get like a replacement, like it's not going to be the same copy at all, you know.
No, you almost can't get rid of it because of the
I can't,
meaning
no.
behind it.
Hmm.
It's
No,
not
that's
like
amazing.
Rule of Rose where you're like, well, I got this for free.
Yeah, exactly. So now I just got to get Haunting Ground. Then I have the holy
Trifecta.
trinity of
Mhm.
like both PS2 games and survival horror games. Just got to get that game now, which thankfully is the cheaper of the three here, but still not easy to buy though.
No, not if you want a nice, clean, complete copy.
Oh no,
I'd love to get that one. Out of the 3 games, I'd want that one the most, actually. Just
because it
I
is the
love.
better of the three. Because
Yeah,
the
if you like Clock Tower, if you like those games, and it's an act like Haunting Ground's scary. It's a scary ass game. So
mhm. The
um,
sound design is so creepy, especially you get a game over. Oh my god, it gives you chills.
yeah, I'd love to get those. That's some holy grail stuff right there.
Clock Tower is another series I'd love to get, but they're just almost unattainable today unless you want to fork out $400 or $500 for a single game.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
There's only a few games where I'm willing to do that for, and they're like the Grails. You can't have 50 Grails.
That's what I mean. Like, so something like that, I will buy like maybe a game like that once a year. I'll buy like one really expensive game for myself, and it's got to be something I'm pretty passionate about. And I would love to have Clock Towers. I'd love to, but that's not on the list.
I would only care to get the original Japanese version of Clock Tower 1 and Clock Tower 2, which
Nintendo, right?
yeah, the Super
Yeah.
Famicom technically, but Clock Tower 2, which is the one that came out on PS1, but in the States they called it just Clock Tower, acting like it was the first game, but no, it's the second. That's the only other one that I would consider getting. I already have Clock Tower 3 on PS2, and what
That
we
one's
got
not
is
too expensive. You can still get that one. Yeah.
no, not at all. It's still okay compared to like the other
Yeah.
games.
It's just mildly too expensive. Yeah.
Mhm. But Clock Tower 2, The Struggle Within, which in Japan was just called Clock Tower Ghost Head, that's the most expensive. It is like in top 5 most viable PS1 games, but you should only buy that because you want this very valuable PS1 game. If you're buying it because you want a good Clock Tower game, you're going to be super disappointed. It is a horrible, horrible game. Like, it may be one of the most infuriating games you will ever play. Like, if you don't have a guide with you, you are going to get really mad at the game because it just screws you constantly.
We had some really interesting comments in chat before we missed them. I just wanted to go back on them.
Sure.
So when we were talking about the PS5 games, Videodrome80 mentioned, I currently have a complete NTSC PS5 collection, and I find it annoying that they still haven't moved on from the PS4. And that's a really good perspective from someone who
It
does
is.
have the library.
Mhm.
He also said, I think Demon Souls and Ratchet and Clank are the only PS5 games.
Those are the two that stand out for sure. Those are the two that after I played them, I was like, yeah, PS5. That felt like new, and then everything else it's pretty, but I think a PS4 Pro.
I also like to add Returnal in there as well too. It's my favorite of all three of those games personally.
Just picked
Games
Returnal
are-
up, and I want to play it, but I'm trying not to watch anything on it because I don't want to be spoiled.
Absolutely don't. It has like a similar narrative of how like Silent Hill 2 does it, just so you know. So yeah, don't spoil
I only heard
yourself
good
at all
things
with it.
about it. I'm
It's
looking forward to
amazing.
it.
The gameplay
Mhm.
is sick. Like I love Housemarque games in general, and they crushed it. That game is so fun.
Mhm.
It's intense. Yeah, I won't spoil anything for you, but god dang, I love that game.
Looks like we're getting Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure on the PS5 for limited run games. So we really push the console to its limits.
I did get from a limited run the updated version of what's the game called? It's escaping me. It's the Sega CD controversial game that created
Night
the
Trap?
ESRB. Night Trap, yeah, Night
Mhm.
Trap. Thank you. Yeah, I got that because I need to have a physical copy of that game in some regard because why not? It's Night Trap.
Yeah, I bought that because it's on 4K for the PS5. I ordered that one too, actually, just because I wanted the 4K version. I love FMV games. That's like a huge thing I collect. I have pretty much every PS4 FMV game. I have the Switch one too. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
I got it because it was part of the reprint sale at one point, and it was cheap on limited run.
Mhm.
I had an interesting comment I wanted to touch on. So we were talking about our favorite games before. One of the comments is from my friend Risky, and he said NCAA football is the greatest game of all time. Now you might laugh at this comment, but
There's a lot of people who love that
if
game.
you look back, NCAA football 14 is renowned to sport players as one of the greatest games of all time, and like
Mhm.
there's a reason that goes for $150. It's not
Because
because
wasn't the was that
true.
also the last like football game to where now it's like exclusively Madden, like the last known good one that wasn't a Madden game?
it's the last college football game, and because
Mhm.
of licensing and stuff, it's just become so hard to make a game like that. They've
Mhm.
tried to make one moving forward, but I don't know if we will ever see one. I don't know if you guys know of the YouTube channel Pardon My Take. They're big into American sports. They did a series during COVID of like an online NCAA football league, and it ended up getting like 10,000 people playing this game all together still, which is
That's cool.
amazing.
That's
And that was
awesome.
part of
Yeah,
the reason the price like skyrocketed. So
it
like an
already was
interesting take.
beforehand, though, right?
Sorry, what was that?
It already was
Yeah,
beforehand,
it
though, right?
already was, but it went from being like an $80 game to copies selling for $200 overnight. And it wasn't just one copy. I'm talking like 40 sold copies a day on eBay. It was
Mhm.
absolutely crazy. I made a video
I
about it at the time.
I know last year when I first visited a new local store, they did have NCAA 14 on the 360 that I think they were selling it for $80. I think that was, yeah, last year in January. I saw that there.
Yeah, I don't hate on sports games. I know a lot of people like poo-poo them and stuff, but there's a lot of them I like. I actually love golf games, especially. Like I love
I love
golf
golf
games.
games. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought like every Tiger that ever came. I have like all the Tigers, PS1 through PS3, all of
Hot
them.
Shots Golf as well.
I
I
love
love
Hot
that one.
Shots Golf.
I love Mario Toad School Golf. I love like lots of those games. You ever played Golf Story on Switch? The game's
Oh,
I've
I
heard
do
good
have.
things
I
about it.
have
fantastic.
it, but haven't played it yet.
Oh, it is such a good game, and I'm actually really excited about the sequel coming out next month. It's called
Oh, they're
Sports
making a
Story.
sequel. That's
Yeah.
cool.
It comes out in a couple weeks actually, and I am totally pumped. Actually, want to see something cool? I got
Let's
So-
see it.
Golf Story. The actual like limited run release is really valuable. It's worth a lot of money. And there was this Japanese company called B-Side Games. And they were like a limited release company that went out of business, and like right before they went out of business, they had like a liquidation sale, and they have all these cool versions of
looks
their
cool.
games. And this was like a Japanese
That's
exclusive
really nice.
that has English on it. Yeah, it's still sealed and everything, and it comes with this really cool sleeve and everything.
Mhm.
And I'm super
Full
stoked
art
to have
on
these
everywhere.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I love it. It's almost like a JRPG map. Almost.
It's that. Well, that's what it is. It's a golf JRPG type experience. It's a fantastic game. I can't.
Yeah, who would have thought to make a game like that with golf of all things, you know? But they made it work.
Yeah, but every guy's golf work, so you can sort of see them getting the ideas from that.
Mhm.
What if we make that in a top-down view and throw RPG elements in? You know what holds up for sport games that will always hold up? I'll try my best.
I just want to show off this real quick too.
Sports.
This that same company, if you like shmups, they released this game. It's called Kyogi Quartet Fighters, and it's like the only physical release of this game. And like this is going to be worth a fortune in the future too, because like I said, the company went out of business.
Photo of that after the podcast? I'd be interested in something like that.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's like this solid chrome sleeve it comes in and everything. Very cool. They had two more releases, and I wish I'd gotten those two, to be honest, but I'm like ordering from some Japanese company off a Japanese website in Japananize. I'm like, I don't even know how much this is costing me. I have no idea. I didn't even know. I just bought it, and the shipping was like outrageous. It was like $30. And I'm like, well,
I'll just hit the buy button, see what happens.
The whole site was in Japanese. It did not have an English version, so I'm just like, I don't know what all these squiggly lines mean, but I'm gonna buy it. See what happens.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
I've been there, done that, translated things, and it's never the same price as what you translate it to be.
Yeah. You're like, oh, this would be $50, and you see the charge like $87.50. You're like, all right, well, it's fine. Too late.
Someone's winning here.
Cool. Got any more cool questions in the chat?
Yeah, King Collector was saying, I just got The Legend of Spyro, Dawn of the Dragon for PS3. I saw this game before and then couldn't find it for a while. Then found it for $70 and was like, just what I need. I actually tried to play this. I went into this with higher expectations going off, Spyro's amazing, but I really didn't like this game. I really struggled to finish it.
Most people would say after the original trilogy, the series dropped off for a while, especially when they, of course, they forced him into Skylanders. He was clearly not the same. But even for the games that came out after the PS1 generation, they just felt like lower quality, you could say. But I never knew that Dawn of the Dragon, though, that game has some value to it nowadays, as I recently found that out.
It's weird though. It's always been expensive on PS3, but it's also on the PS2. It's on the Wii, and it's cheap. So why is the PS3 version like it's always been expensive?
It's probably the better version of it on the PS3.
Yeah, maybe the trophy support or something.
I'm not actually sure, but I do know that I picked that one up because of one of the guests you had on previously. What's his name? Collector Fanatic? Maybe I can't remember. Gosh, I remember. Yes, you had him on here.
Collector Fanatic 101, yeah.
Yeah, he has tons of videos, and I remember I went through all his videos, and that's one of the ones he recommended to get, and I did pick that up on his recommendation. Cool. So there you go. Shout out for you, buddy. I picked that game up because of you. I have that over there. I got Monkey Island because of him, too.
Yeah, I got like 100 games in my collection because of Joseph. So
yeah, well done, friend. I watched your videos a long time ago, and they definitely worked out. So I'm glad you made them. Should have bought Africa. Whatever.
I should have bought the Africa that he got. Actually, speaking of Africa, I know D Street got a really, really good deal on Africa recently.
That is true. Yeah, it was months ago. I went to my local pawn shop in town, which, no joke, it's literally like a 30-second drive down the road from my office here. It was my first time going there. My coworker said that they do have games there, and me and him, we do like games and all that stuff, but he doesn't collect them because he doesn't have space at all. But first time going there, I just looked through like the shelf. They just had like a bunch of like those garbage GameStop cases, loose games. But as just sorting through the back, I just see they had Africa there for, oh, what did I pay? I think I paid, it was like $5 or something. Granted, it's missing the manual, but I'll gladly take the case and the game disc for $5.
Yeah.
I was never looking for that game at all because personally, it does not interest me at all for what the game is. But I'll still pick that up though for $5 in case I ever want to sell it. I'll get something that I want later on. But for now, I'll keep it for now though. For $5, you can't go wrong with that for Africa.
Pokemon Safari, but yeah, exactly. It's Pokemon Safari. That's what it is. It's like Pokemon Snap set in Africa.
Exactly.
I tried it. I think I turned it off after 30 minutes.
I turned it off when I got to the first zebras because like I'm pressing the buttons to take a picture. Why are you not taking a picture? I quit the game right there and put it back on the shelf. I can't figure out how to play it properly, but hey, what else?
And I didn't realize that you could actually control the vehicle. So
you can after the first tutorial section. You can after that.
I didn't make it past the tutorial, apparently. Videodrome80 asked us a question. Have you guys noticed the big price jump for the NTSC version of Pineview Drive? I have it, and a few weeks back, I heard the NTSC version was pretty rare. I wasn't aware of this.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm very aware because I have the PAL copy. I've been trying to upgrade my copy for quite a while, so I am extremely aware of the price jump of that game. Yeah, the PAL copy you can get like $20-$30. The NTC is going for like 80-100 for used copies. Sealed copies. I can't even imagine what the sealed copies are going for. But yeah, it's definitely as far as like PS4 NTSC horror games, it's one of the most collectibles for sure. I would highly recommend.
And I'm sure it's going to stay valuable for a long time, or may even go up because, as tradition for most horror games, just once they start having price hikes, they never go back down at all. Great example: these two games right here.
No,
they will never ever come down in price at all.
No.
So Joe, being the guest host, I'm sure you're able to help out with something. Usually we have a very special guest appearance on the show every week. So would you be able to do the honors?
Absolutely. What am I doing?
Don't have Amari, you ain't shit.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I got Amari right here.
This is for Will, guys.
Just
shout out to Will. We'll be back on Sunday.
We miss you. Tribute. Pour one out for Will and for Amari. Are we doing Figsy Name That Game? Should I find something?
I mean, if you guys want, the chat want to see it. Chaos is asking, are we doing Figsy Name That Game? Feel free to grab one.
I gotta find something. All right, how about this?
While you're looking for that, I got a question for D Street.
How about this
one? How long
one?
have you been making YouTube videos for?
I've had this channel made since like 2013, but I didn't upload a video until July of 2019, which was at the time my current PS5 collection. I just held off on it because I just didn't have the equipment nor the internet to make YouTube videos. But now with where I'm at now, I can actually make content now. But yeah, it's something I've always wanted to do ever since watching channels like Review Tech USA, Metal Jesus, Radical Reggie, like all those big names out there. Like they can do that stuff easily. Like, why can't I? But the main channel that gave me the most inspiration, without a doubt, Adam Korlick. I love his content a lot, and if you watch his channels, like, yeah, you clearly see the inspiration that I took from him. Yeah, that's how long I've been doing it, and I do plan on keep doing it though, because I have a lot of fun doing it on here. Just once I do get that schedule set up, you can expect more varied content coming out pretty soon that hopefully will be of good quality.
Nice, looking forward to it. At the moment, I probably watch one video a month of yours, and it's just your monthly pickups because I love seeing what goes into the collection. And I've seen a few other ones, so I definitely enjoy it. If you like my monthly pickups, D Street does the same thing over there. So definitely go subscribe, guys. Be sure to give him some love. On the road to 1,000 subscribers, so hopefully get there by the end of the year.
We're getting there, yeah. But once pretty soon we'll get there for sure. But
very cool. All right, you ready for this?
So is it time for Figsy name that game?
I grabbed 2 random games that I think are funny names. So how about this one? How about this one?
Marsupial. I thought it was going to say marsupial, but it's like Masaplami.
It's an old cartoon. It's called Masupalami. The Huba Adventure. It's classic.
I was onto it, and then I lost it at the end.
You were close. You were close. That's a good one, man. It's a good one. All right, I got one more for you. I don't even know how to say this. So we'll have to, and you can't read the cover, so you'll have to read the spine. What about this one?
Kill the calamine lotion game.
Calamine lotion.
That's it. You nailed it.
Did I?
It is the calamine lotion game.
Yes.
You get attacked by mosquitoes for hours, and then you have to just bathe yourself in a tub of lotion.
So Figsy, I got one for you right here, and you may have seen this in a previous video of mine, but just try to read this one section of it, and hopefully you can see it well enough. It is that, at least this whole bottom part right here. Try to pronounce it.
It's Xenosaga, also speech. Zaro, I can't see.
Yeah, it is holographic. It's hard to see.
I don't think I've got it, so I couldn't read it off my copy. I'm gonna pass. Sorry,
pass. There's no pass.
Even I have a hard time saying it. It's like also Sprach
Zarathustra. Also Sprach. It's German. It's also Sprach's Zarathustra. It's a famous song, actually. It's Thus Spoke Zarathustra, whatever. It's the 2001 Space Odyssey song.
Nice.
Oh, really?
That was some good knowledge, Joe.
I'm a nerd. I know some stuff, but nerdy stuff. Nothing about like Australian sports, but you want to know about stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm like sports, and you guys are like, whoa!
I'm like, I was never picked for those as a child. No, I was.
Unless you're a complete PS3 collector, I guess you're not going to know about obscure Australian sport games.
He's like, name this Russian buzz game. I don't know, man.
What's the second question on the buzz German game?
It's also Sprach. There, no, I don't know. Well, you did good, man. That was fun. Well done.
Always fun.
I had one more question written down for you, D Street. So I wanted to touch on. You mentioned you sold a little bit. So do you do reselling on eBay, and do you do that part-time, full-time? What's the
I do reselling on eBay, but it's not full-time like you, though. It's the times when I just feel like I don't want this anymore, so let's put it up on eBay. That's how I sold the Barbie game, of course. And I do still have some sealed PS5 stuff up there, but it's not getting any views because just I guess nobody cares for this stuff right now. That I'm like considering taking it to like a local game store or something like that. I did sell off an entire collection that I used to have. It was back in It was late 2020, I think, that I sold off this collection, and that was a complete sealed amiibo collection of all the North American figures as well as Japanese exclusives too. I sold
Wow.
all that stuff.
Wow.
That's
Funny you mentioned the PS5 stuff. I did a pickup video last week of all this PS5 stuff I bought, and I've actually sold half of it on eBay in a week. So it's like some of the best selling stuff I've got.
Is it mostly like the retail games that you sell? Because the ones that I have up for sale is ones that would have come from like special reserve games, limited run games, where you could only go to like the website to purchase them originally.
Yeah, so it was games like Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Demon Souls and things like that. So
Yeah, that stuff I'm not selling because I actually want to keep those games personally.
I'm still going down the road of I play them, I sell them, I'm going to buy them later when they're cheap because there's thousands of copies out there. I find it hard to put a game on the shelf and leave it that I've paid good money for that I know isn't going to be worth it one day.
My philosophy is, yeah, that's a game I'm definitely interested in. So I'll pick it up during the holiday season probably because I already have such a huge backlog of games I got to play. So I'm going to play that stuff and wait for that game to become cheaper eventually. Unless if it's like a Silent Hill 2 remake, Resident Evil 4 remake. Oh, you bet I am picking that up day one for sure.
Yeah, understandable. And that's always going to hold its value too. Like you're never going to see a Silent Hill game for $5 or $10.
Never at all.
I remember the Resident Evil games. They got marked down to $15. And I bought them all. And I thought, you know, I'm paying a little bit, like I'm paying $100 here because it was like 6 at once. And now, like the cheapest one's like $40, and that was only 2 years ago. This is on PS4 we're talking, so it's crazy how quickly all those games have shot back up in price. And like, there's greatest hits versions of them. You know, they made a lot of copies.
It could be due to like all the hype with all the newest releases coming out, which generally happens with a well-known franchise. Is just when they have a big new title coming out months beforehand. That's just when prices for certain older titles tend to go up usually.
Funny you say that. I seen something very interesting this week. So I do a thing where I'll occasionally just browse eBay by PS3 games or PS4 games and search sold most recent, and I'll just have a look at what's selling. I was shocked to see that God of War Ascension was selling for $40 on eBay. I would have walked past a $5 copy, but now that the new one's out, people, I've just seen this week a copy in Australia sell for $40. So I'm looking out for that game now, and that would have been on the back of the new ones just come out.
Yeah, thankfully I do have all the God of War stuff on the PS3 right now, and I'm sure I picked up Ascension like it would have been like $5 when I picked it up back then.
That one's super cheap. But yeah,
that's a $5 game.
It's like a halo effect when a new franchise gets popular. Like you said, people start getting interested in the old games again. Like I guarantee you, like it made like when Persona 5 came out, I made every other. Even though those games were expensive, I bet they got way more expensive once that got popular.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Just like, especially the fact that people would have got into Persona from Persona 5 and went, I've just had the best 300 hours of my life.
I want to get all of these. And then, it just gets...
oh my God. And then they spend like the amount of money that Revelations Persona goes for, and they realize it is nothing like Persona 5 at all. And they're going to be super disappointed.
I can think of a few franchises like that. From Software is a perfect example. Serious Dark Souls fans who get into the series learn that, hang on, there's this game called King's Field on PS1 and 2, and it's like $500. Then they go and buy it, and they find out it's not as good as Dark Souls.
No.
And there's also Shadow Tower.
Was just gonna say
that's more valuable than King's Field now.
I would love.
And I want to get a copy of it.
Me too. I want King's Field 1, 2, and Shadow Tower. I'd love to have all those games, even though they're jank.
I'd want 4 as well. I don't think 3 got an English release.
I don't think so.
No, it was the first King's Field game that didn't get an international release, but King's Field 2 did, which we got as King's Field 1.
Oh, okay.
Then King's Field 3 we got as King's Field 2.
Then they must have published 4 as 4 because we got 4 in the PAL version.
And there is an English translation of Kingsfield 1 out there, so you know, you don't have to only play it in Japanese nowadays, but you know, it's going to be an archaic experience, but still very interesting to see, like, From Software's older catalog, of course. I mean, that's mostly why Kuwan is very expensive, as well
Well,
as
yeah.
the Echo Knight games too.
No, I'd love to get those too.
Even the Armored Core games are expensive today, which is crazy.
Mhm.
Which ones? Sorry.
Majority of the PS2 Armored Core games are
Armored
expensive.
Cores.
Armored Core on
Oh, yeah.
PS1 is like $100.
Like, yeah, Armored Core was From Software's poster franchise. There's like, what is there, like 13 or 14 different Armored Core games, and compared to how many Souls-like games that they've made, it's like the tides have definitely turned for of where From Software has like found their shtick nowadays. I mean, look how successful Elden Ring is, for God's sakes. Like I don't blame them for not wanting to go back to something like Kingsfield or Echo Knight, because just Souls like games just sell.
They're printing money. They're not gonna. It's no reason to do anything else, unfortunately.
But they did make I'm pretty sure it was like one VR game on PS4. I don't remember the name of it, but it was the closest
Deracine?
thing. Yeah, I think that's what it was. It
Deracine?
was the closest thing we got to something like a new Echo Knight game, which, so there is hope that they can still make games from like their older games and all that, but don't hold a candle to it though, because of how successful their other stuff is, obviously.
Now, Video Drome said, I just made a major
Oh,
purchase
wow.
today. So stoked. Jack Brothers complete in box for the Virtual Boy.
Whew.
Congratulations.
Very
Congrats,
very nice.
dude.
Yeah, that's the
That's
one.
awesome.
Complete in box too. Woo!
That is the very first Shin Megami Tensei game that we ever got, at least one that's based in the universe. I'm sure that was the first one we got that was released internationally, was Jack Bros, of all things.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
Well, gentlemen, it's almost been 2 hours. I think we're going to call this one a show. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, D Street. I'll have to get you back on the podcast again. Joe, you've been an awesome host. So thanks for coming on late notice.
No problem. Thanks for
On
having me.
Sunday, guys, we've got Chris Weeks coming on. He's an Australian collector. He's got a full PS3 set. He's got more games than me. He's an absolute amazing collector. He's going to have a really interesting story. So be sure to check out Sunday's podcast. Be sure to go and subscribe to D Street over on YouTube, guys. And yeah, thanks for coming on, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's been an honor being on here. Hope to see you guys next time.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you, man. Take it easy.
Yep. Take
See you,
it easy.
everybody.